I'm going to be sharing with you in this video 3 signs you are stuck in an unconscious program and also how to break out of it. Because we can get stuck in repeating patterns and loops and convince ourselves that we're not stuck in these loops. And in my experience, this is one of the worst things you could possibly do in your life, is get stuck in a repeating loop. I'm going to share with you how not to do this, how to do the opposite so that you can live the life that I believe we all deserve to live. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell, because I do actually post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, currently the only way to do so is by booking in a single session. You can book that by hitting the link that's in the description box of this video. It's also going to be in the comments of this video as well. Now, let's just get right into the video. The first sign that you are stuck in an unconscious program, like some autopilot program that just not fulfilling you, is pretty obvious. It's so obvious that it's kind of a joke how obvious it is when we can convince ourselves that it's not obvious, which is number one, extreme heaviness, resistance, and disresonance with what you are doing and embodying. So just an extremely like disresonant energy. See, I don't believe we're meant to be living in extreme resistance and heaviness. Will challenges come up? Sure. Will problems come up? Sure. Will resistance come up sometimes? Sure. But if your life is like based around an extreme level of like your actions on a consistent basis, like the consistency of who you are is just heaviness and resistance and disresonance, like you're just totally just not in, like let's just say it like this: you're not enjoying your life. Let's just make it really obvious. You're just not enjoying your life, right? There's just an extreme resistance to every action that you're taking. I think that's a huge sign that we are stuck in an unconscious program. That's just what it is. That's just the truth of the matter here, right? And I'm not saying that like I've overcome every unconscious program in my life. What I'm doing now could one day become an unconscious program, because there's certain things in our life that sometimes resonate for us, and then eventually we get what we need from that type of experience. We get what we need from that, from that thing or from that job or from that relationship, but then eventually it stops resonating. And so this is where I believe we need to be honest with ourselves about how we feel. Are you like highly not enjoying your life and there's just heaviness? Like in society, I think we've normalized feeling resistance in our day-to-day life. I don't think that's normal. Slavery was normal hundreds of years ago. Is that normal? Like, is it a normal, like do you want that to be a normal thing? To be living your life in resistance all day? I don't think that's normal, personally. I mean, if it is normal, I think we should change what normal is. Because, it's, for me personally, I believe that if we are in some kind of extreme heaviness, that's the first sign that it's time to change it up. It's time to do something different. It's time to embody a different version of yourself. It's time to be something different. It's time to embody a new version of yourself. It's time to move forward into a new version of yourself. And that would be how to break out of it, is to choose a new path, a new and more exciting path. Now, the second sign that you are stuck in an unconscious program and how to break out of it is, number two, you're defending and arguing what is, and I have it on my notes here in an underscore, like to highlight it, what is not working. Okay? If, oftentimes when somebody around you, maybe a loved one, points out something to you that is not working, right? Something's not working. Maybe a mentor, maybe a family member, maybe a coach. The first thing that we want to do oftentimes is lash out at them and get reactive. But what I've come to realize is that the wise thing to do is that oftentimes the people that care about you the most will reflect to you, your embodiment. So if you're embodying something that's hurting you, people are going to notice that. People are going to notice it, and they're not. And I understand that initial reaction to just like get reactive and judge, and I even notice this within myself sometimes, but I try to avoid it as much as possible because I can see that it's just not a wise move to make. So if somebody's pointing out something to you that's clearly not working for you, and then you immediately get defensive and you get very triggered and you start arguing and even start defending, I want you to perhaps take a grander perspective. Look at it like from the outside, right? So I look at Francis sometimes. I look at Francis from like the outside perspective. Look at who you are from the outside. Like just look at it like, imagine you have like a camera in your room, like spying on you 24/7. I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to say it. I'm not spying, but like just looking at you, right? Like, are you living with integrity? Are you are you being who you want to be? You know what I mean? So it's like if you're defending and arguing about, certain things that are just simply not working for you, then it might be the time to see like, hey, it's time to switch it up. That's the sign. That's the sign telling you that you're stuck in a program and it's time for you to shift out of that. Because oftentimes the people that are defending, that are getting triggered, and look, I'm not even saying to not have boundaries and to not to be aware of what you like and what you dislike. I'm not saying to not be aware of what you like and what you dislike. You can obviously be aware of that. You can obviously be aware of what you like and what you dislike. That's not what I'm saying to do. Of course, it's important to be aware of what you like and dislike. But what I'm trying to say here is that when you're defending and arguing what is just simply not working for you, what is simply not allowing you to feel how you want to feel, and not allowing you to be in the energy of who you prefer to be, and not allowing you to embody that version of you that you really want to be, and you're defending it and you're fighting and you're arguing and you're telling people why they're wrong, and it's like, but at the end of the day, like you're telling them they're wrong, but then at the same time though, like you are not living the life that you want to live, and you're in resistance all day, and you're not getting the results that you want, and you're not embodying the type of person that you want to embody, and you're not living life that you want, but yet you're defending it. You're defending it. You're getting triggered. You're defending it. You're arguing. Yet at the same time, though, you're not living the life that you want. I would say that that's your time. That's your cue to be like, wait a second. What's really going on here? What are you not willing to own up to? What are you not willing to fully embody? What are you not willing to accept in your reality as the truth of the situation here? And of course, the truth is subjective depending on what you want to embody. But when you are out of alignment with who you want to be, you will feel that as a disresonance in your body. You will feel that as a huge disresonance in your body. And people will oftentimes reflect it to you. They will reflect it to you. They will see it. They will see when you're not being in alignment with who you want to be. They will see it. And so it's not about getting triggered and arguing, in my opinion. That's not what it's about. It's about just seeing what is working for you and what is not working for you. And to be honest about that. To be honest about that. Now, the third and final thing that I want to share with you in this video is, do you feel a lack of motivation, fulfillment, and peace? Lack of motivation, fulfillment, and peace. It's so obvious, right? You would think that it's obvious that if you're feeling a lack of motivation, you're feeling a lack of fulfillment, and a lack of peace, that you're stuck in an unconscious program. You would think that that's obvious, right? You would think that that's so obvious. But oftentimes we can ignore that. We can ignore when we're just feeling stagnant in our life. We can ignore when we're not being in integrity with who we want to be. We just ignore, we brush it off, and we pretend like it's not the truth. But that's what keeps you stuck. That's what keeps you stuck, right? You have to start to be more in integrity. That's the key. You have to start to be more in integrity with who you really want to be. You have to start to say, you know what? If I'm feeling a lack of motivation, if I'm feeling a lack of fulfillment, if I'm feeling not peaceful, if I'm not feeling peaceful, you're probably stuck in an unconscious program. You're probably stuck in something that you don't want to be in anymore. Maybe at some point that program served you. Maybe at some point that was the thing you needed. Maybe at some point that's who you wanted to be, but now it's no longer who you want to be. So it's time, so what I have here written here is it's time to choose a new and exciting path. It's time to choose a new and exciting path. It's time to move on. I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know who needs to hear this, but it's like I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm saying it's time to move on. It's time to be something else. It's time to shift into a new version of who you are. It's time to stop believing in the fear. It's time to stop believing in the resistance. The resistance will always lie to you. The resistance is trying to keep you stuck. That's what resistance is designed to do. Resistance is designed to keep you stuck in the same reality. That's what it's designed to do. Resistance is designed to keep you stagnated, not feeling fulfilled, and not feeling peaceful in your life. That's what resistance is trying to do. So I'll never forget when my mentor told me, one of my mentors, he said, Francis, do you have to believe in the resistance? Do you have to believe in the fear? Like there was this one time, I'll never forget, I think I told the story a lot, but I'm just going to share it anyways, where I'm just like not knowing what to do with my business. I'm really scared. I didn't know what to do. I'm really worried about my finances or something. I'm like starting my business. This is a couple years ago. My business wasn't popping. Things weren't going how I wanted it to go. And things are just not going, and I'm just so scared. I literally sent him 15 paragraph message, 15, all these messages. He sent me one message. He said, Francis, and I know it sounds so cliche, but I'm just going to say anyways. He's like, do you have to believe in the fear? And I kid you not. I kid you not, this sort of ego reactive loop of resistance that I was stuck in for hours, maybe imagine if I didn't get that message from him. And I'm not saying that I needed that, but it was the permission set that I needed from the outside that I believed in from the inside as from the outside to believe in that. It was a permission set that helped me to ground back into my own peace. And he said to me, do you have to believe in the fear? In an instant, literally, all my anxiety just finished because I realized oh yeah, there's all these emotions in my body. There's all this resistance. And I'm just do I have to believe it? And no, I don't. He asked me more than once in many of my sessions. He's like, can you see the resistance and just move on anyways? I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Can you see the resistance in your life? Can you see the lies? Can you see the fear? And just move on anyways. Because you'll be so surprised to see that many times in your life, your ego will come up with all these stories about all these things that are going to happen, all these things that are going to go wrong, this resistance, all this stuff. And you just ignore it and you do it anyways, and then it just goes away. It just goes away, maybe even in seconds. And I could have sent you down some timeline of fear and resistance for maybe even multiple hours, maybe even, who knows, maybe even like months, maybe even lifetimes. We just get into these loops of resistance for who knows, maybe even multiple lifetimes. And then it's all you have to do is just not believe in it and then carry on with who you want to be anyways. And when you get really good at this, what you'll start to notice is that you learn the lessons much faster. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make that voice crack. We're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life. You're going to get triggered. You're going to feel resistance. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have problems. But here's my question to you. How fast can you bounce back from that and shift back into balance to who you are? What you want to do is at some point realize that no matter what, you're going to feel resistance and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do the wrong thing. You're going to be egotistical sometimes. You're going to get triggered. You're going to do things that are out of alignment with who you are. It's going to happen no matter what level you're at. Now that we're trying to be a millionaire, whether you're trying to manifest just your first $5,000 a month, whether you're trying to start your first business, it doesn't matter what you're starting to do, no matter what. And there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad, in my opinion. There's no higher or lower levels. Ultimately, it all just is, but it can be higher or lower depending on the identity that you want to embody. Relative to who you used to be. It's all relative. But you're going to be in all these different versions of you, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have things come up in your life that are out of alignment with who you want to be. But the question is, how long are you going to stay stuck, and how quickly can you bounce back? Something you can even do is consciously let yourself make mistakes. I mean, honestly, I don't believe in that. I think that the key is to ground in peace. Stay in alignment, but then if the resistance comes up, then just don't focus on it. Ignore the resistance. Ignore the challenges. How much can you ignore the fear? That's going to be the limiting factor between somebody who's successful and somebody who's not successful. Can you keep your eye on the vision? Can you keep your mind's eye on the vision and ignore the resistance? And the vocabulary and the way of communication that I like to personally have in my videos is not to move into the fear. Because when you say move into the fear, I think that it can be sort of like, I mean, this is for me personally, that type of vocabulary, it's all the same thing really, but it misguided me to believe to go into the resistance. I like to personally have my vision on my mind's eye and understand that on the way to that vision, resistance is going to come up, and that's completely normal. Hello? One thing that my mentor told me also, one of my mentors, I've had many mentors in my life, and I still continue to have them because I believe that they are very important to humble yourself. As much as you feel you need, of course, that level of support, but anyways, that's a whole nother video. But the key is to see that the resistance is going to come up, and also to understand that it's completely normal. You also want to have proper expectations of the fact that when you're creating a new reality, do you have the expectation that resistance is probably going to come up? Yes, I talk about effortless alignment. Yes, I talk about effortless action. Yes, I talk about grounding into the most effortless and aligned, easy version of you. But do you honestly believe that on the way to that identity, that the old patterns are not going to come up? Of course they will. Of course they will, and that's okay. But I think that's something that can really help us to shift out of these unconscious programs and resistances, is to simply have the expectation and to understand that resistance is completely normal. It's totally normal. It's not like there's something wrong if resistance is coming up. It's part of the path. But the question is, do you have to believe in it? Can you carry on anyways and move on to who you want to be regardless of the resistance, and get to the other side of that resistance where you ground into the peace and you see the resistance as false. You see the resistance as a lie. You see the resistance as a false program that doesn't actually exist, other than the anticipation of believing that something bad is going to happen. And then that is the suffering. The suffering is to be in the anticipation of you think something bad is going to happen, when the only time that usually happens is if you collapse and let yourself fall into that reality. You let yourself collapse into that reality, and you don't hold your ground into who you say you want to be. See, part of, I believe, spirituality, and again, spirituality exists, but I believe that part of spirituality is having a strong presence that you can see it as masculine energy, but I think ultimately it's a balance of the masculine and the feminine energy, not to be too masculine or feminine. It's a balance of both. Part of spirituality is to have discernment that, you know what, I am not going to believe in that reality because I do not want to live into a self-fulfilling prophecy of fear. I simply do not want that, right? Imagine you're going to the gym. Would you say that it is a wise choice to make sure that you perform the actions that you take in the most efficient way possible to help you get the best results possible with as little resistance as possible, also to make sure that you keep your body whole and complete? In other words, I don't like this vocabulary, but I'll use it here for the purposes of communication, to make sure that you do not injure yourself. Now, I personally do not like the vocabulary of making sure that you don't injure yourself, because then you can put all your focus on making sure to avoid problems. I personally like the vocabulary of make sure that you can perform the action in the most effortless and aligned way possible so that you can keep your body healthy. That makes sense, right? If you're in a challenging situation, I use this example before in one of my older videos. Let's say you fall into a river. Let's say you fall into a river. Let's say you're in a life or death situation here. Let's say you're in a life or death situation where you literally fall into a river, and now your level of alignment, your level of connection to who you are is going to be the factor between, are you going to drown in this river or are you going to get out of that situation? Now I'm going to conclude the video on this. I think this is a great analogy. Think about it. The people that get really reactive, they are super in anxiety, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but you have to take responsibility for how you feel if you want to get out of that situation, right? Because panicking, getting anxious, and worrying, and getting frantic, is that going to help you to get out of the river? No, it is most likely going to lead you down a timeline where you probably drown. Now, if you want to get out of the river, what do you have to do? What you want to do is remain calm. Remain as grounded as you can possibly stay. Remain as grounded and in peace and in efficiency as you can stay, and take the appropriate action to remove yourself out of this adversity that you've somehow gotten yourself into. Who knows how you got yourself into that? Is judging yourself for getting into that situation going to help you? No, it's not. Is panicking going to help you get out of that situation? No, it's not. Is feeling resistance is fine. If you're in a river, of course you may have resistance and fear. Of course. That is a valid emotion to feel. You're totally valid to feel resistance and fear and anxiety from the river. But you have to say, you know what? I'm in this river right now. Believing in this thing that is not going to help me. How do I move forward out of this challenge? What you want to do is not believe in the resistance, not believe in the challenge and of the resistance, and stay as calm as you can and take the aligned action to get out. Similarly, whatever you're creating in your life, it's valid for you to feel resistance. It's valid for you to feel challenges. It's valid for you to have these problems come up. But how calm can you stay in the storm? How calm can you stay in the challenge? And if you follow this advice that I'm sharing with you in this video, I strongly believe that you will identify the unconscious programs in your life. You will see the challenges in your life, and you will have the energy and the capacity to shift yourself out of that reality accordingly, and help you to shift into that version of you that you prefer to be. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, currently the only way to do so, it's the only way, is to book in a single session. You can book that by hitting the link that's in the description box of this video. It's also going to be in the comments of this video as well. I now offer 15-minute quick sessions as well as 1-hour sessions. If you want to book that, be sure to do that. As always, and also stay tuned for my book coming out in the next 2 months. Most likely it will be done very, very soon. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.